What's going on, everyone? Welcome in to a special Cobra Cast while the astronauts are making their way back to America. We're going to cover it here. The hero, Elon Musk, and President Trump have done what Joe Biden couldn't do. And I think that the Dragon's return to Earth is scheduled at 5:57 Eastern, so 4:57 Central. So we're probably around 30, 45 minutes from it. So we'll see roughly. So this is live coverage right here. So this is going to be good. This is historic stuff right here. And it just shows you, like, right now there's some blue-haired land whale crying about Elon Musk and crying about Donald Trump. And yet here they are. These guys are actually saving, stranded astronauts from space. But, some fucking hippo is upset because somebody's driving a Tesla.
Ballistic experts provide the daily opportunities that would line up Dragon with the 7 landing zones and split them into what we call ascending and descending opportunities.
Dragon uses its Draco thrusters after leaving station to execute a series of altitude-lowering maneuvers and to line up with the selected primary site. It can also change to different alternative sites while in a free flight if sudden weather moves in that we may.
Now, let me show you guys. So this right here is the map of where NASA is saying that the landing is going to take place, which is not far from me, actually. So that's actually pretty cool right there in the Gulf of America. So yeah, good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Let me see. Is that the one? Yeah, this is the feed right here.
Or about 10 miles per hour, and relatively calm seas so that we can safely execute recovery operations, which includes landing a helicopter on the recovery ship to fly Nick, Sunny, Butch, and Alexander back to Florida. Once Dragon began flying today, we had a number of additional checkpoints to either proceed towards the primary site, head to the alternate, or select a new zone based on real-time weather data. These checks happened all the way up until we were in the final hours before the deorbit burn.
Jesse MacArthur for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, sir. Hail to the Snake Pit. Hail to the 199. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoy. And again, so we're currently looking at the SpaceX feed or the NASA feed. I'm not sure specifically which feed that is. Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is pretty awesome.
Will confirm completion of that deorbit burn for Dragon Freedom. We can see images there from the touchscreen display panels that the crew utilizes in flight. We can see the visualization of exactly which one of the 4 forward Draco thrusters are firing. That's why you have kind of like a strobe effect there.
And if you're just joining us, you are looking at live views of the Dragon Freedom. On your left is Commander of Crew 9, Nick Hague. To his right is Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grabenkin. And also in Gorbunov, that is Alexander Gorbunov. And then also in the capsule today is NASA astronaut Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore. We're awaiting confirmation that their deorbit burn is complete, which is the last burn that's going to help set them up on a trajectory to Splashdown off the coast of Florida.
Deorbit burn complete. Performance nominal. Nose cone closure initiated.
Freedom copies.
All right, excellent news there. We heard the words we were looking for, nominal burn. So that means that deorbit burn was successful and nominal.
While we're waiting for this, because again, according to the numbers, we're still about 20 or 30 minutes away. But I do have breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. JFK files have been released. They have brought a bunch of influencers and they have handed out binders. JFK files has been released right there. So another exciting day. Looking forward to this one. Clearly, the White House, the Trump administration learned from their mistakes. And we now have JFK files have been released. So there we go. As I said on this tweet, As I retweeted it right here, and I basically said, I don't care how much you love Trump or this administration, that Epstein binder situation will always be a massive L. It is always going to be a massive L. I mean, where are the fucking JFK files? They said they're going to be released today. Those aren't released today. This is absolute nonsense at this point.
That entry brief will provide updated times for anticipated splashdown, as well as the loss of signal or period of LOS. And that briefing will also give us information such as wind speed and wave height at the expected splashdown location. But all in all, everything has been great today. All events have been executed on time as expected, and we are looking forward to a splashdown of the Crew 9 crew at about 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time or 2:57 p.m. Pacific Time.
All right, so
Between
there you go.
Now and then, things are going to start moving quite quickly. In fact, if anything, this will have seemed like the slower part of the reentry phase. We're going to go through, like I said, that period of loss of signal or LOS. That period is a few minutes long where we are unable to communicate or command the capsule due to the plasma that builds up on the exterior of the capsule. That period, like I said, lasts for a couple minutes. You will start to hear SpaceX Core hail the Crew 9 crew a little bit earlier than expected, because we, in the past, have actually regained communications a couple minutes earlier than initially anticipated. So we'll go through that period of loss of signal, that entry period, that
Chad Layton says, totally selfish of me, but I'm heading to work. I think they could have done this like an hour earlier. They could have passed me. They could have passed this. They should have passed this past me first. I hear you on that. I wish I would have known this was, I mean, this is only a few hours from me where this splashdown is happening. I think that's really cool. And, man, I would have considered trying to go over there and check that out. Wildman says, glad they're almost home. I'd be happy to take a normal shit after so long. I heard that.
Main parachutes will come out from the Dragon spacecraft and then ultimately end in splashdown.
And we are hearing confirmation that the nose cone is closed and everything was nominal or as expected with that closure. So as we begin the second half of entry, Dragon is now beginning to inject cooled nitrox into the air being delivered to the spacesuits worn by Nick, Sunny, Butch, and Alexander. Again, this is what will allow the crew to remain comfortable while external temperatures reach 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit as they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So the heat shield is pointing forward, leading Dragon to the landing site.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the heat shield, Dragon's primary heat shield is comprised of PICA 3.0, which stands for Phenolic Impregnated Carbon Ablator. The first gen PICA was initially developed by NASA for studying and sampling comets within our solar system.
SpaceX partnered with NASA to develop PICA X, which was the second generation product used on all Dragon 1 cargo resupply service missions that resupplied the International Space Station on 20 missions. PICA 3.0 was developed specifically for use on Dragon 2 crew and cargo with enhanced structural and thermal capabilities that allowed the heat shield to be even more effective in the way that it utilized the ability to make that heat ablate as it goes through the Earth's atmosphere.
Pika. All right, let's see. Subway J says, can I take your order? With Subway J right there. Another J meme has been born. Of course. For those that are asking, yes, I'm still doing a main event tonight. So that is happening. We may push that start time back just a hair, but yeah, we will be doing
and it. Protects the underlying composite structure during reentry to ensure the structural capabilities are maintained.
While Dragon will experience temperatures well over 3,000 degrees during peak reentry conditions, the characteristics of the thermal protection system coupled with the environmental control and life support system in the pressurized interior will ensure that Nick, Sunny...
Where are they landing? Near like Tallahassee, right here. That's where they're landing. So that's pretty cool. And that's happening here in the next 20 to 30 minutes is when it's happening. Operation One says, welcome back, buddy. Hope you had fun with your family. I hope we'll finally learn who killed JFK. It's doubtful, but for my money, the CIA. I don't think we're going to learn anything. I don't think so. And Earthbound Ian says, reminder that Joe Biden was given a chance to bring these people home by Elon Musk, and he said no. Once again, hail Trump and Elon, hail the 199. Andrew CR says, Fignolic impregnated. Congrats, Jeremy. American Dreamer says, I heard Elon is really working on stopping asteroid headed to Earth. God help us. Also, Jeremy is gay. Yeah, I mean, I would like if we had like a, an Armageddon situation. And who would be Bruce Willis? Because obviously Bruce Willis can't be Bruce Willis. So who would be Bruce Willis at this point? I don't know. Who would we send up there in the place of Bruce Willis? Who would be Harry Stamper if an asteroid comes to Earth? Legalize adulthood says, let's see. What did you say? Nuke the baby, gay whales for Jesus. It's the American way. What's up? Legalize adulthood. Tom Cruise. I guess we could send Tom Cruise up there. Yeah. Tom Cruise could do it. Even in his what? Is he in his 60s now? But Tom Cruise could still pull it off. So I'd be okay with that. Pete Hegseth. Zendaya. I still don't know how to say her name. I have no idea how to say her name.
The final physical configuration change for Dragon is complete. We have closed that nose cone. This is the last physical change that Dragon undergoes prior to re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. It's important that
Elon
nose cone
is there at
completely
SpaceX
closed
right now,
because underneath it is not only where the 4 forward Draco thrusters are located, but it's also because that is where the forward hatch is located. That is the hatch that is utilized for the crew to ingress and egress from the station while it is docked on board. And since our capsules are flight proven and we reuse them on future space flights, we want to make sure that all of the integrity of that hardware remains intact. So that nose cone is successfully closed, and we're going to start moving pretty quickly here. As I mentioned before, we'll go through loss of signal. We'll get that signal back several minutes later, and then we'll see the parachute action.
Yep, and then that's all ahead of Splashdown off the coast of Florida. We're targeting Tallahassee as our Splashdown zone today at 2:57
in the Gulf of
p.m.
America.
Pacific time this afternoon. Now, you did
In the
mention
Gulf
the call
of America.
to the crew. They'll do some additional calculations following.
I want to hear Gulf of America. Matt Perkins says, Jer Barra, I'm getting black pilled. Please give me good news. Well, you got good news right here because Donald Trump and Elon Musk are bringing the astronauts home. But yeah, I'm not into the black pill stuff. Listen, if you're following, who's black pilled at this point? A bunch of libertarians crying about everything that happens. They're the most emotionally unstable people I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, it's just all who you're following on social media. But that's the way I look at it. Like, just follow who's going to, not black pill you, because there's a lot of black pillars out there. Grant Potato says, Beardo, we would send Beardo. Just tell him there is an alien shark on the asteroid. Legalized adulthood says SpaceX does it. Boeing can't. Make way for a new golden age of America. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, with Boeing, if you've done any research on this, Boeing completely failed in this situation. They failed the astronauts in this situation, and it took Elon Musk, with the approval of the president of the United States, to actually get this done, because Biden, from all reports, ignored Elon Musk's request to go up there and save them.
That's called a big loop. We do that when we're in integrated operations with the International
Freedom, SpaceX, for entry sequence. Report when ready to copy.
Ready to copy.
All right, I've got some updated times for you. Our comm blackout start time is 2144. Our comm blackout end time is 2151. And our splashdown time is the same per your displays, 2157.
Okay. Understand comm blackout start 2144, stop 2151, splashdown per display.
That's a good readback. And with that, please report when tablets are secured behind the elastic bands, restraints are tight, and visors are down.
8 o'clock says Tom Homan would deport the asteroid like nobody else. Also, new season of The Apprentice on Prime. That's right. A new season just dropped on Monday, right? Yep. Hell yeah. Subway J says, seen your post on not being racist. Yeah.
and with that communication from the core or crew.
I was trolling this guy on Twitter, and he was completely confused while we're waiting. So I commented on this post right here on IGN because they gave Assassin's Creed Shadows an 8. And I said, why didn't you give it a 10 out of 10? Stop hating black people. Hopefully Ubisoft sues you. And this guy says, have you actually played the game yet? If not, shut the fuck up. And I said, stop being racist. Thank you. And he says, I didn't say anything racist, though. I just said, if you haven't played the game, shut the fuck up. How is that racist? And I said, George Floyd wouldn't approve of your foul language. Be better. Do it for him. George Floyd judges you. Do it for George. All right? He would not approve of your language.
Due to best recovery conditions. And as Sandra mentioned before, weather is always a watch item, but everything is looking great for that particular recovery location. So I'm sure once we start getting views from the recovery vessel, I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty beautiful afternoon.
And we did mention that, of course, this is a daylight splashdown, so we should be getting some great views. We do have a couple of spacecraft called the WB-57, which are high-altitude planes that NASA utilizes during splashdown operations. Those are en route and going to be tracking the capsule as it makes its way through the atmosphere and should be providing some good views for us. Kate and I were just chatting about how we haven't had a daytime splashdown in a little while, so we're looking forward to the views along with you.
Yeah. Nighttime views are also great because we can see that capsule streaking through the night sky quite brightly. So like Sandra, you said earlier, daylight will be a little bit less bright, but we will definitely be able to see the SpaceX recovery team operations much clearer. I could also imagine it's probably a little bit easier for the team themselves to do their work in daytime than at nighttime. We'll see them rush in really quickly with a couple of fast boats as they begin the initial safety checks and sweeps of the Dragon capsule, while also retrieving the parachutes from the surface of the ocean. The recovery vessel, the main recovery vessel, will continue to make its way closer to the Dragon capsule. It is stationed a couple miles away from the actual recovery location, the splashdown location, for obvious safety purposes. So it takes a little while for that vessel to make its way over, but once it's closer, we'll have even better views of those recovery operations.
And you may be wondering why sometimes we splash down in the daytime versus the nighttime. And believe me, we would all love for these operations to happen during regular daytime working hours. But unfortunately, orbital mechanics just doesn't quite work out that way. So it has to deal with the location of the International Space Station.
Okay, so if you're just tuning in, we're about 20 minutes away from splashdown for SpaceX Dragon, which will be bringing the astronauts home to the Gulf of America. And I haven't been paying too close attention in the last 5 minutes, but I don't know if they've said Gulf of America yet, but I'm ready to hear Gulf of America.
5 p.m. Pacific yesterday evening for us here in Hawthorne, early wee hours for folks on the East Coast and other areas of the United States.
Yeah, but regardless of whether it's daytime or nighttime, the SpaceX recovery team has trained and practiced and rehearsed for it all. So regardless of daylight, they are really efficient with those operations. And but like you said, Sandra, it has been a minute since we have
She said
seen
Gulf of America?
a daytime
Okay.
splashdown on a NASA SpaceX crew mission. The last daytime recovery was on Crew 4, which was the debut flight for the capsule flying today, the spacecraft known as Dragon Freedom. And so, yeah, kind of a fun fact there in terms of the timing of that daylight splashdowns. Once again, standing by for more communication with the crew.
I'm hoping we're actually going to get like video footage of it. I'm not sure. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So again, yes, we are going to be live for Tuesday night's main event. That is happening over on the Geeks Gamers channel. We're probably going to push the start time back just a little bit so that we can cover this, because this is a pretty big moment right here, and hopefully we do get this on camera. For those that are just tuning in, this is where the landing area will be, right there near Tallahassee, Florida. Scheduled to happen here in about 20 to 21 minutes. So that's what we're waiting on right now. So hopefully we will have this. I hope they're going to have footage of it, because that's going to be cool if that's the case. So that's why we're going to stay on this feed right here so we can hear what they're saying. Is that Elon right there, maybe? I don't know.
All right, great news there in terms of continuing to make progress. That back and forth communication we heard was just letting Core know that per their instructions, Crew 9 has now put away everything that was necessary in order to begin the reentry, including those tablets that were located on their legs.
Where are we at here? Legalized Adulthood says, Dave Rubin keeps texting me about wanting to see the Gulf of Griggs. He says it's somewhere in Florida between the Schlong Peninsula and Taint Bay, but I've never heard of it. Neither have I. Legalized Adulthood in the house. Eric Strad says, Jeremy, I really encourage you to visit SpaceX factories and launch pads in South Texas. All can be seen from public. SpaceX YouTubers or space YouTubers get 150,000 on lives. What do you mean? Just like they're touring of it, or them just covering stuff? I'm fascinated with space. Fascinated with it. Subway J says, I'm not going to lie. I had a customer come into my work as I was reading this, and I started busting out laughing. George Floyd approves. LOL. Howell Bastion says, one could say that you have your knee on the neck of what George Floyd would want. Stop the racism. Vault 95 says 1969 average NASA worker was 25 years. Now they're old AF. They are. JD Corey says, Jeremy is so happy Big Mike might be on the market again. He's going to show off his back end. Sex Conquerors is Trump Elon anime opening theme. Just search for it. It's space themed and perfect for today's return of the astronauts. Everybody keeps telling me about this one. Southeastern Kaiju says Trump victory, astronaut return, followed by another Trump victory, JFK release file. Is this a dream? It is a dream I have. Yeah, I haven't heard anything on the JFK files, although Trump did have about a 3-hour phone call today with Vladimir Putin, and apparently it went very well. So that's a good thing. Trump released a statement on it, and we got a lot of the details from it. So I guess we'll see how that works out.
108 days in space, the second most time in space by a U.S. astronaut.
5 minutes until predicted calm blackout. We'll see you on the other side at 21:51.
Talk to you soon.
And with that call out from the crew operations resource engineer to Commander Nick Hague, letting them know that everything is looking good ahead of the loss of signal period. We will see the crew on the other side of the loss of signal period at 2:51 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. Continuing on about Sunny Williams, who has a total of 608 days in space, the second most time in space by a U.S. astronaut. Former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson actually ranks first for the U.S. with 675 days in space. Sunny conducted 2 spacewalks and has completed 9 over the course of her career for a total of 62 hours, 6 minutes of spacewalking time. She ranks 4th on the list of cumulative time spacewalking by a female astronaut, and she has flown on 4 different spacecraft types, including the Space Shuttle, Soyuz, Starliner, and now Dragon. Previously, she served on Expedition 14 and 15 in 2006 and 2007, and again with Expedition 32 and 33 in 2012. She's a retired U.S. Navy captain and is a proud graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and was the first astronaut to run a marathon in space.
Pretty awesome stuff. Now, NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore is also serving as a mission specialist today. This is his 3rd spaceflight and, just like Sunny, logged 286 days in space. He conducted 1 spacewalk and completed 5 over the course of his career, earning him a total spacewalking time of 21 hours and 2 minutes. He's flown on 4 different spacecraft types throughout his career: the Space Shuttle, Soyuz, Starliner, and now Dragon. Previously, the Mount Juliet, Tennessee native served on STS-129 in 2009 and Expedition 41 and 42 from 2014 to 2015. Wilmore is also a retired captain in the U.S. Navy.
Next up is Alexander Gorbunov, who is a 3rd mission specialist serving on today's mission. Crew 9 was his first space flight to the space station, earning him a total of 171 days in space over the course of his career. Gorbunov, along with Nick Hague, saw the arrival of 4 visiting vehicles and saw the departure of 4 as well. The duo orbited the Earth more than 2,700 times since September. Before his cosmonaut selection in 2018, Gorbunov worked as an engineer for a rocket space corporation and helped support cargo spacecraft launches from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. So if you are just joining us, we are continuing to bring you live coverage of Crew 9's return to Earth following their mission aboard the International Space Station, where they completed science and research investigations. We are targeting splashdown off the coast of Florida at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time. The next major milestone that we'll look ahead towards is what we call loss of signal, or LOS, when we won't have communications with the crew because they will be re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. And during this process, there is plasma that builds up around that heat shield, so we are not able to communicate with the crew, but we are anticipating to regain communications with the crew at a short time from now at 2:51 p.m. Pacific time today.
As we said before, everything continues to look good for the return of the Crew 9 team. We are about to go into that period of loss of signal. Once we get views of the crew inside the capsule, once again, we will be sure to bring those to you. But that period of time is when plasma is building up on the exterior of the capsule, generating heat in excess of 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. So we are unable to communicate or command the spacecraft at that time. And that includes, unfortunately, video feeds as well. So as soon as we get the views back inside Dragon, we will bring those to you. But until then, we are going to stand by and continue to monitor the progress of Dragon. Like Sandra just said, we are anticipating the blackout period to begin at 2:51 p.m. Pacific time, 5:51 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, so we're all signs are good right now. Everything's looking pretty good. Subway J says, has there been a space baby yet? No, not unless Elon goes up there. Because when Elon goes up there, he's going to return with like 20 kids. Shadow Sands says, Jeremy, space or the bottom of the ocean? Pick one. Fuck. I'd rather be closer to heaven than hell, so I'll take space. Eric Stratton says YouTubers that cover launches with private camera views, i.e. everyday astronaut, get 150,000 views. I worked on a planned test for Space Hospital in the early 1990s. Spent time with astronauts at many parties. Yeah, I mean, I would love to, check stuff out and go. Like, I wish that I could. And maybe there's an opportunity to do it. I wish that there was a way that I could, right here, there's the splashdown targeted for 5:57 p.m. Central. So that's 12 minutes from now. But I wish there was a way that I could shift it to where we could do a little more, we should do more traveling and coverage of things at Geeks and Gamers. I'd love to get more into that. Having sponsorships is a huge part of that. And that's why you should go over to metapcs.com and use the promo code 199 pinned in the live chat right there. Click that link, go over there, support them. If you support them, you're supporting us. And we want to continue that relationship. So hopefully you guys will go buy some computers from them, a laptop, a custom build, or some accessories. But yeah, I mean, having stuff like that will allow us to do stuff. I'd love to go on a tour of SpaceX and some of those facilities in Texas. That would be fantastic. So, all right, let's hear what they're having to say really quick.
Space flights. One such example that the crew worked on during this
mission
was a alternative exercise device. In microgravity, the crew has to exercise for about 2 hours a day because they're not having the effects of gravity on their body. So to prevent bone and muscle loss, we counteract that with 2 hours of exercise per day. On board the International Space Station, they have 3 ways in which they can exercise. They have a bike, they have a treadmill, and they have a similar to a weightlifting machine that counteracts the microgravity environment. But a particular experiment that this crew tested out was a combination of all 3 of those in one smaller device. And this is really critical as we continue on to the moon, Mars, and beyond, because space is really important in spacecraft. So if we have something smaller that the crew might be able to utilize, that can potentially help us venture out even further into the solar system. So science is really the name of the game when it comes to the International Space Station. Some of the other science highlights that took place during this increment that are particularly interesting to me was we had the first wooden satellite.
There's 350,000 people watching the SpaceX or the NASA channel right now. 350,000 people are watching that channel. That is crazy. So a lot of people are interested in this.
To not only provide maintenance to the International Space Station, but also where we swab the outside of the space station near vents to see if any microbes that we all have microbes on us, to see if any of those could survive in the harsh environment of space, which again is very important for us to know and understand as we continue to the moon, Mars, and beyond.
Very exciting stuff. Now, at this point, we have now entered the communications blackout period for the Dragon spacecraft. This lasts approximately 7 minutes due to plasma formation around the spacecraft itself. During this time, no vehicle telemetry is received by mission control or the recovery team, and no external commanding of the vehicle or voice communication.
585 watching, 585,000 watching on X.
Dragon is designed to fly itself. During reentry, the vehicle...
This is not live concurrent viewers. This is total views. That's why I don't even mention it. That's why I don't even acknowledge it, because it's just total views based on impressions. It's not actual live viewers. That's why Twitter's the way they do things annoys me. Also, like, I've been seeing, like, I'm sorry, man, I see like all these reports of like Rumble and everybody, we have like the top 5. Oh shit, we have the top 5 most viewed live streams. I don't buy it. All right.
And that view is from the WB-57, which is one of NASA's high altitude planes that is tracking. Now, because of the way that this camera is configured, it does look like it is dark, but it is indeed daytime, and you're beginning to see that plasma trail as Dragon re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. All of that is expected. We are anticipating an acquisition of signal around 2:51 p.m. Pacific time, so just minutes from now, and you may hear the core begin to hail out out or call Dragon for communications and see if we can potentially get communications with them a little bit earlier. Following this, we'll have two events in rapid succession. We'll have the drogue parachutes deploy at 2:53 p.m. Pacific, followed by the mains just 1 minute later at 2:54 p.m. Pacific time, ahead of a splashdown at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
Pretty incredible views of the Dragon spacecraft making its way home back to planet Earth.
And we're 7 minutes away from
Crew 9
Splashdown.
Astronauts on board. Once again, this view is coming from the WB-57 plane. That heat shield we can see doing magnificent work as it works to
Freedom, SpaceX, Comcheck.
All right, we're going to start hearing the SpaceX crew operations resource engineer.
SpaceX Freedom is with you. 4.16. Enjoying the ride.
Copy that, Freedom.
Great news there from Commander Nick Hague reporting back.
We see a healthy
Hell
flight
yeah,
computer.
golfing guns.
Expect automated chute deployment.
I think there's five or six, maybe. I'm not sure. Didn't three go up? Didn't three go up to get? So maybe there's 5 people on board, or is
Like
it?
we said
or is it
before,
only 3?
things
The
moving
Russian and the
very
2 Americans.
quickly
Is that it?
as Dragon Freedom makes its way home. Next event coming up will be deployment of the drogue parachutes. This occurs around 18,000 feet.
GPS has converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deployment.
Yeah, mainstream media won't touch this story. I haven't seen the mainstream talk about this at all because they would have to call Elon Musk a fucking hero, and they don't want to do that.
We're about 2 minutes away from deployment of those drogue parachutes. Now the heat shield is continuing to work to slow the vehicle down. That entry
4
period.
went up, 2 stayed, 4 coming down. Got you. Okay.
The Dragon spacecraft went from orbital velocity about 17,500 miles per hour down to about 350 miles per hour. So that really gives you a sense of why that plasma builds up on the exterior of the capsule, thanks to the heat shield and the work that it does. Those drogue parachutes will slow it down from 350 to about 119 miles per hour. We can see
15 kilometers. Brace for drogue window.
We can see seat rotation happening inside the capsule. Great to get those first views of our crew members. Once again, the capsules are going about 350 miles per hour when the drogues are deployed. Those drogue parachutes that we manufacture here in-house are going to slow the spacecraft down to 119 miles per hour. And that is when we will see the main parachutes deploy, and that occurs about 6,000 feet above the ocean's
We're 4
surface.
minutes from the scheduled time of splashdown.
And we are expecting drogue deployment at 2:53 p.m. Pacific, so we should see it any second now. And you are getting a great view of Crew 9 inside Dragon Freedom as it returns back to Earth. We are awaiting the drogue deploys. This view coming from the WB-57 high altitude plane. And there you see it on your screen, drogue deployment.
Drogue descent rate nominal.
You can hear the crowd here.
Visual on 2 healthy drogues.
That is crazy.
The crowd here very excited as Dragon Freedom continues to make its way back to planet Earth.
But just remember,
next up, we'll stand by for the main deployment of the parachutes.
Some retard is crying about Elon Musk
The mains are quite a bit larger. You'll be able to notice the difference on your screen once they deploy, and they continue to ensure that the Dragon spacecraft slows down even further. As we mentioned, Freedom will be traveling 16 miles per hour when it splashes down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, here at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. And there we go.
We have visual on 4 healthy mains.
That is cool
view
as
was
hell,
from
man.
inside.
Freedom copy.
That view was from inside one of the buckets where the parachutes are located. So we see a great view there of the reefing on those parachutes. And as those main parachutes begin to inflate fully, 4 beautiful, healthy mains. Now awaiting visuals of Splashdown.
SpaceX Freedom, 1,000.
We'll start to hear Commander Nick Hague.
Copy, 1,000.
As we heard right there, Commander Nick Hague will be calling out the altitude of the Dragon capsule from here on out. Landing in water is simpler and provides more margin against unlikely parachute issues. You can see those parachutes continuing to slow the Dragon capsule down.
And if you're just joining us, you're looking at
800 meters.
a live view of Crew 9, just minutes away from splashing down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Splashdown 2 minutes from now at 2:57 p.m. Pacific. We do have 4 healthy mains really doing the job there.
Look
just
at that.
breathtaking
The beautiful
views of a calm,
America, baby.
glass-like ocean off the coast of Tallahassee,
I could
Florida.
probably see
Crew
them
9
out
just
there if
minutes
I
away
go
from splashing
outside.
down.
This is really such an incredible shot. That
Copy,
was
600.
That was a live view from our recovery vessel, Megan, which is stationed a couple miles away from the splashdown site. We can see the crew there
Go outside.
using their
It's
restraints
a few
as
hours
resting
away from me,
places
so I
for
wouldn't be
their
able to see it,
arms.
but it's not too far.
They were just in space moments ago, so their arms were able to float freely.
400 meters.
This is a gorgeous bluebird day here that we have for the splashdown of Crew 9. It's incredible to think that the Dragon capsule just minutes ago was going over 17,000 miles per hour, and now
is a
gently
gorgeous shot.
coasting to a soft splashdown.
200.
Copy, 200 meters. Brace for splashdown.
As you can see there on your screen, continuing to monitor progress of the Dragon spacecraft.
Dude, they were just in space.
And we're going to stand by for
And
Splashdown,
Elon Musk brought them
located
home.
in the Gulf of
This is
America,
amazing.
off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
And to the minute of splashdown. Boom!
And splashdown.
There
Crew
we
9 back on Earth.
go. That is awesome, man.
And SpaceX Freedom.
I got
Splashdown.
chills.
Good main release.
Copy, splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny,
That is
on behalf
beautiful.
of SpaceX, welcome home.
Damn. That's inspiring, man. Very
It
inspiring.
is an amazing, what a ride. I see a capsule full of grins ear to ear.
Can anyone confirm if any of the mainstream channels are talking about this? I'm curious if any of the mainstream is covering this, and they wonder why their fucking ratings are in the ground.
And as you can see on your screen, we have visual confirmation of splashdown. Dragon Freedom has returned home, and NASA astronauts.
System
Fox
safety
is-
verifications
I
are in
figured Fox
progress.
would.
We'll report back when recovery personnel are en route.
Understand. And, we're in section 2, 4.800 landing response. And looking for your word.
Well, this is like an event that, like, I remember the Challenger, like this is these events that like everybody gathers
In the
around.
distance, we can see the recovery vessel making its way.
And
Copy, you're in section 2 for the environment.
the mainstream would rather just tell you how everyone's racist and sexist and how everyone's attacking, minorities. And Orange Man is bad. And yet this is like a unifying moment. Like everyone should be watching this. Everyone should be inspired by this. This is a moment of unity right here. Who can hate this? Who can be mad about this? You know who can be mad about this? Evil people. That's who can be mad about this.
Dragon Freedom has returned home with NASA astronauts Nick Hague, Sunny Williams, Butch Wilmore, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbunov. They're back on Earth after approximately 17 hours of a return journey from space.
The SpaceX recovery ship and team have been waiting for Dragon's splashdown, and they will now make their way to the splashdown location. The teams have been ready and waiting about 3 nautical miles away, so it's going to take them about 30 minutes or so to make their way
And
to
SpaceX Freedom. Pretty sure we're in stable 1.
Copy, stable 1. We see the same.
It's going to take about 30 minutes for the recovery team to make their way over to Nick, Sunny, Butch, and Alexander, who are still seated and secured inside that Dragon spacecraft there on your screen. Incredible views there of that thermal protection system, or TPS. That Dragon capsule was pristine, white color before it departed the station, and we can see how the reentry phase, the thermal protection system did its job. Now, if you're wondering what that hole, that like bucket area is, that is underneath the side hatch. That is where the main parachutes were stored. So when we saw the Dragon capsule docked at station, it looked very different. The panel that protects and covers the main parachutes, that was still intact, as well as the panels that enclose where the drogue parachutes are located. We can see those fast boats.
SpaceX is go for recovery personnel to approach. Expect personnel alongside in the next few minutes.
Okay, we got people there.
Freedom copies.
I don't know where the 30 minutes
We can see those fast boats. We weren't kidding when we said they were fast. While it does take about 30 minutes for the main recovery vessel to make its way over to the capsule, these fast boats
the main
will
recovery
be
vessel.
doing a couple of things simultaneously. A couple of them are going to be working to retrieve the parachutes that you see in the background there of this drone shot. Those parachutes will be retrieved from the ocean surface. We want to make sure we are able to pull those out. The recovery vessel there closest to the spacecraft is going to be performing some safety checks. We can see there they're using an instrument that is basically working to detect if there are any hypergolic vapors or fumes that are still residing in and or around the Draco thruster nozzles or outlets.
This is so cool, man.
The hypergolic fuel, which is necessary for on-orbit burns to maneuver the
Culver's
spacecraft.
cheeseburger.
Unfortunately, those hypergolics are unable to be breathed. They are toxic, and so this team here is doing those initial safety checks to make sure that it is safe for the rest of the recovery team to approach the spacecraft.
They were.
They're also checking to make sure that any residuals from the pyros are safe and
that's
are
good
not
news,
going to cause
Wizard
any
Man.
issues. We
That's
can
good
see
news.
the team working their way around the spacecraft to do these
100%, Chris.
These sniff tests on all of those Draco thrusters.
Elon Musk is a historical figure. And
as we continue to await the recovery of our Dragon spacecraft with NASA astronauts Nick Hague, Sunny Williams, Butch Wilmore, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov inside, Dragon has continuously, autonomously completed several steps to safe itself following splashdown. We are continuing to see Dragon in what is known as stable 1 configuration. That's kind of the ideal configuration following splashdown. It's up.
Let's hope it's not a big wave like an Interstellar that comes crashing down on them. But yes, Interstellar, my favorite movie. So let's hope we don't get a big wave like an Interstellar, though.
With you through that recovery process, all the way through the point where the crew is extracted from the Dragon spacecraft. Now, if you are just joining us, the mission has gone smoothly so far. Dragon successfully splashed down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida at 2:57 p.m. Pacific, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time this afternoon.
Approximately 17 hours prior to splashdown, Dragon autonomous.
No, I did not. I've never hated Elon Musk. I sided with Trump when him and Elon were feuding. You can go back and watch the videos I made on this channel. I never said I hated Elon Musk. I said when it comes to Elon and Trump, when they were feuding, I'm going to side with Trump every time. I've always complimented Elon. I even said, go back 2 years ago, I said Elon and Trump need to put their differences aside and get on the same page because that's what America needs. 100% said that. So bashy washy, just showing up here to spread bullshit. But yeah, Elon is a historical figure, and he basically saved the country and saved free speech.
And so what we did just hear there was communications that those hypergol checks were complete. They didn't find any of that upon those checks, so we'll continue to move through the timeline. Next up is a process called rigging, which you see happening right now on your screen. This is when a SpaceX recovery personnel actually works to climb aboard the capsule and work through procedures ahead of lifting onto the nest of the recovery vessel Megan. We heard it's going to be about 25 minutes or so until that lift actually takes place.
Zinni Biscuit says, but Jeremy, those astronauts were safe in space from the Orange
Freedom,
Man.
The next call will be from the SpaceX flight surgeon on Dragon and Ground Private.
Elon should put out a statement right now and say, I am going to build a ship like an Interstellar, and everyone that doesn't want to be near Donald Trump, I will build a ship like an Interstellar, and I will get all of you off of planet Earth and as far away from the Orange Man as possible. So you have to sign up here on my SpaceX website. And if you would like for me to send you all to space to get you as far away from the Orange Man as possible, please let me know. I will happily send all of you there, no charge.
That you see there in the background. We can now see that SpaceX recovery team member they're on top of the Dragon spacecraft. They are going to be working to install plugs in the Draco thrusters to ensure that none of those to ensure that no more hypergolic fumes or vapors come out from the spacecraft. They'll also place harnessing around the spacecraft that are required in order to lift it out of the water. Go ahead, Sandra.
Continuing to get some views of the recovery personnel, both the main recovery vessel Megan, as well as some of those fast boats that we've discussed previously. It looks like just a beautiful day there out off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Weather was pristine. We were able to get undocked from the International Space Station as expected at 10:05 p.m. Pacific time yesterday evening, and Crew Dragon has since completed steps ahead of its splashdown.
Every feed froze up right there. I'm looking for another feed, but that was the only one. And we're now stepping through procedures to get Dragon hoisted up onto the Megan recovery vessel and get the crew extracted out of the spacecraft. And you did see some of the parachutes that were near the spacecraft. Upon detection of landing, Dragon automatically releases those main parachutes to prevent wind from pulling the spacecraft. Dragon then automatically safes any pyrotechnics that may still be present on the vehicle and may automatically perform additional minor system reconfigurations. The astronauts will remain seated and in their suits at this point, but the onboard air conditioning keeps things temperature controlled inside the spacecraft so the crew remains comfortable, and the communication systems.
Freedom, SpaceX, ComCheck.
SpaceX, this is Freedom. We have loud and clear.
Copy that, Freedom. Have you loud and clear as well, and Dragon to Ground is no longer private.
Understand, thank you.
As we saw there on the screen, we have a couple of fast boats in the recovery fleet that have quickly moved into the splashdown location. They are being followed by one of the main recovery vessels, which will move into position upwind of the spacecraft. The two fast boats have very specific roles. Excuse me. The first approach is focused on immediate safety inspection, as we saw. They do this for spacecraft integrity and checking for any presence of those hypergolic propellant vapors. And this ensures that it is safe for the recovery vessel to approach Dragon. Once Dragon is cleared for full approach, as we heard is the case today, the team begins rigging the spacecraft for water recovery by the recovery ship. The second fast boat is responsible for parachute recovery and also serves as a redundant boat to the first one that makes the initial approach to the Dragon spacecraft. As we saw a little bit earlier, we were also able to see one of the recovery team members get on a jet ski to help gather up the parachutes that were automatically detached from the Dragon spacecraft upon splashdown.
And it will take a little over 10 minutes for the recovery crew to complete their safety checks. Once they complete, the team will begin preparing Dragon to be lifted. And as you see, they are preparing for that to take place.
The only thing I can think right now about this is elections have consequences. Everybody that voted for Trump made this happen. Do you think Kamala Harris would have put any emphasis on this? You know what Kamala Harris would have been worried about? Diversity and equity and inclusion. That's what she would have been worried about. You think she would have been like, oh yeah, guys, we got to get the astronauts home. Let's call Elon Musk to save these astronauts. No, that wouldn't have happened. She would have been trying to put Elon Musk in jail. That's what she would have been doing. Absolutely insane, dude. Samsung for $20. I still remember. Can somebody find that clip of Trump saying Samsung like that? I need to put that as a clip on here. Waiting for Trump to tell this story 50 different times like he did with the SpaceX catching the boosters with the chopsticks. It'll be glorious. Yes. Trump telling these stories is going to be absolutely awesome. I can't wait to hear it.
Await Dragon to be hoisted up onto the ship. We have a very special treat. NASA Public Affairs Officer Jaden Jennings, who is actually on the recovery vessel and had a bird's eye view of the splashdown today. Jaden, how are you? How was the view from the recovery vessel?
Hi, Sandra. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear, Jaden. It's so great to hear you.
Look at me.
Awesome. So Splashdown, Sandra, was nothing
Freedom,
short of
be advised.
spectacular.
We are transitioning
Hail to
the forward
199,
link.
brother.
Comm will be unavailable for approximately 5 minutes.
Freedom comes.
Thanks so much, Jaden. We did just have some communications letting us know that we'll have about a 5-minute period where we won't be able to hear from the crew. So please go ahead, tell us, how was the view from the recovery vessel?
Thanks, Blackguard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was mentioning earlier, Splashdown was nothing short of spectacular. And we were stationed about 1.5 nautical miles away from the splashdown zone and had great visuals here on the recovery vessel Megan. We actually saw a little of the smoke trail as the spacecraft was coming in. And then moments later, we spotted those drogue chutes, and this was quickly followed by 4 healthy white and orange main parachutes. We then tracked Dragon all the way down as it slowly propelled into the ocean. And I think I speak for all of us on the ship when I say a new core memory was made today, and we are looking forward to having Crew 9 on board with us a little later.
Jaden, that is amazing. Now, obviously, we are watching it here on camera, and the landing conditions look pretty good, but how was it from your perspective? What is the sea state out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've had optimal conditions for splashdown, and today it is sunny and 63 degrees outside right now with clear skies, light winds, and calm seas. The sea looks absolutely beautiful right now, and light blue with the sun reflecting from it. And Kay, I think the crew's going to like what they feel weather-wise on this picture-perfect day for splashdown off the coast of Tallahassee.
Thanks so much, Jaden. It certainly looks like a beautiful day. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey of the recovery forces to get to this point?
Sure. So one unique aspect of this recovery was the onboard training on station conducted for Butch and Sunny to ensure they were ready to return on a Dragon spacecraft. That training covered all aspects of their return.
Yeah, it's pretty. Now, again, I want to preface what I'm going to say because I'm here in the Panhandle of Florida, but for Panhandle of Florida standards, it's pretty chilly. What is it? About 63, 62 degrees in Tallahassee today. A little bit of wind. So I'm, that's one thing to take into consideration for sure.
About 2 hours before splashdown, they deployed those fast boats and jet skis into the water. I was actually on the second helicopter out, and we were on the vessel about an hour and a half before splashdown and landed on top of the helicopter pad on the Megan. And the teams have been working diligently across their respective disciplines this week, executing what can only be described, in my point of view, as a logistical masterpiece, just ensuring every detail has been in place for Crew 9's return.
That is such great news. I'm so glad that you're able there to experience it in person. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what's next to retrieve the crew for the recovery personnel on board?
Yeah, Kate. So coming up next, Dragon will be hoisted into the on-deck translation system, or the nest, at the aft end of the ship, and then will be translated pretty quickly towards that egress platform. We'll perform another series of safety checks as final precautionary measures, just to make sure there are no hypergolic vapors present before opening that side hatch. And then once that side hatch of the spacecraft is open, the crew will be assisted out of the capsule one by one from NASA and SpaceX.
Freedom, SpaceX, comm check.
Freedom's got you loud and clear.
Thanks, Nick. We got you loud and clear as well. We have completed our forward link transition.
Nice FNT jacket right there. Yeah, I hear you on that, Levi. I hear you.
And Jaden, if you did just want to go ahead and let us know what is next to retrieve the crew, we are continuing to get some great views on our screen, but I know you have an even better view yourself.
Oh, yeah, Sandra, this view is absolutely unbeatable. So just to kind of finish off what I was saying is once that side hatch of the spacecraft is open, that crew will be assisted out of the capsule one by one from NASA and SpaceX medical personnel, where they will then head to the med bay. And after those medical checks, they will get on that first helicopter out and arrive at the airport, where they will then board a NASA plane and then head back to Houston, Texas at the Johnson Space Center to begin their post-flight period. And we're eager to see the Crew 9 astronauts back on Earth, and we'll keep you updated on every moment of this process. With that, I'll toss it back over to you guys in Hawthorne.
Thank you so much. That was Jaden Jennings, NASA Public Affairs Officer, who watched Freedom splash down firsthand from the recovery vessel. Megan, thanks so much, Jaden. So we are continuing to get these great views on our screen here of Freedom. As we mentioned, it splashed down at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. The recovery personnel are continuing to step through procedures to hoist Dragon onto the recovery vessel Megan there, which is now coming into view. You can see just how close Megan is at this point. And that's that helicopter pad that Jaden was just discussing, where the crew will fly off of onto the coast of Florida, and then eventually they'll fly back to Houston.
Just underneath that helicopter pad is that translation deck where we will see the nest once it is loaded up with the Dragon spacecraft on board. The nest will be translated to the forward end of the recovery vessel, and that is where our Crew 9 team members will egress from the Dragon spacecraft. Now, here on your screen, we can see dolphins, actually, who want to come and play with Dragon. Now, one of the fast boats there in place,
Florida, baby,
working to assist the recovery team member. It's incredible.
How could you not
I just
love
these views. We really see them even better in daytime, but just seeing the recovery team work in tandem to step through each step. To step through each operation. Obviously they're getting quick assists from the honorary part of the recovery team, those dolphins in the water there. Now, the recovery team member that is crawling around the Dragon spacecraft. Earlier, we saw a view where it was like a spider monkey pose. We can see that individual now standing in the bucket where the main parachutes were stored while Dragon was on orbit. Obviously, those main parachutes were utilized for splashdown today. They were deployed and cut from the Dragon capsule. And one of the fast boats, one of the other fast boats of the recovery team working to pull those out of the water. Now, the recovery team member that is they're working on top of the Dragon capsule. Earlier, we saw that person performing safety checks. Now we can see some harnessing being placed around the capsule. This harnessing is what will be used to lift the Dragon capsule out of the water and onto the recovery vessel. Wow, we got a cute little pod of dolphins. It wasn't just
That's
one
awesome,
or two.
man. Look at that. That is so cool.
I mean, that water just looks beautiful. We had ideal splashdown parameters today. Obviously, wave height, ne'er a concern. The weather is beautiful, as Jaden mentioned, in the 60s, sunny. Looking forward to seeing Crew 9 exit the capsule here shortly once they get hoisted onto the recovery vessel Megan.
We can see that recovery vessel slowly but surely closing the distance.
Look at that.
There between dolphin cam back again. we can see that the Dragon capsule and the recovery vessel.
The
that
Dolphins voted for
closing.
Trump, baby.
Again, this is just one more step as we continue to work recovery operations for Dragon Freedom, and we anticipate the lift of the Dragon capsule to occur here in just a few minutes.
And my Miami Dolphins hat right there, baby.
All of the rigging is on the capsule and it's hooked up to the recovery vessel. We will see the hydraulic arm, which is that kind of like bridge-like structure there at the aft end of the recovery vessel. We'll see that articulate backwards, and that's a good sign that we're getting even closer to pulling the capsule out of the water. It will then move forward, and the capsule will be placed inside of what you can see there is basically a basket. We call it the nest, Dragon nest, where that's where the capsule will be placed in order for it to be translated to the forward end of the vessel and for the astronauts to egress.
And before that does take place, we'll have potentially views of the rigger go ahead and jump off of the spacecraft there.
That typically occurs when the spacecraft is a little bit closer to the recovery vessel, and we usually get a really good view of that particular operation from one of the onboard cameras from the recovery vessel. That is an operation that I have a lot of respect and admiration for, that individual that does that.
So again, Dragon continuing to get closer and closer to the recovery vessel Megan.
The JFK
You see
files
some of those
just dropped. Are you
ropes now
fucking kidding
coming
me?
into view as well.
I think the JFK files just dropped.
You are just joining
Holy
us.
shit.
Crew 9 splashdown off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time with NASA astronauts Nick Hague, Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. They're now working through procedures to hoist this spacecraft up onto the recovery vessel Megan.
Right here. They just dropped. We're going to stay on this right now, but JFK files just dropped.
Position.
Holy
that
crap.
arm will be the mechanism that is utilized to lift Dragon up and out of the water and into the nest located there at the aft end of the recovery vessel.
And the recovery vessel being used today is, as we mentioned multiple times, is named Megan, but that's actually after NASA astronaut Megan McArthur, who flew on Crew 2 a couple of years ago. We're getting some views now from actually inside the boat.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This view is straight down the recovery vessel. That platform that was closest to the camera, that is the egress platform.
Freedom, rigging is almost complete. Approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift.
Great news there from SpaceX Core. So about 5 minutes left until we see Dragon Freedom get lifted out of the water. That hydraulic arm, as I said before, is the mechanism that will lift it. It's quite swift, actually, the whole process of getting the spacecraft.
Brace for capsule lift.
Bracing.
There it goes, Dragon Freedom being lifted out of the water and onto our recovery vessel, Megan.
Wow. Amazing. They were just in space, and now they are in the Gulf of America. Absolutely incredible.
So once securely on,
Welcome aboard the recovery vessel. Recovery personnel are completing final checks and stand by for translation to the egress platform.
Freedom copies.
Great news there, letting us know that Dragon Freedom has been successfully recovered from the water's surface. If you've just joined us, we had an on-time splashdown at 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time, and we can now see that the water recovery operations are continuing to progress. The nest where the Dragon spacecraft is located is going to get moved forward. This will happen after one of the recovery crew members does some checks, and we'll also see some hosing. Obviously, the spacecraft splashed down in salt water. Salt water is corrosive, and we want to try and rinse out as much of the salt water as possible to reduce that corrosion on the metallic structures. So we can see some guidance there.
Sex Conquer over on Rumble says, astronauts back home, JFK files released, and on April 2nd, Trump will personally reveal the switch to. Amazing. I would give anything to have President Trump reveal the switch to, just to have him be like, it's going to be a great system. It's going to be the best system.
throughout the entire operations from the deorbit burn up until this point as well.
And Freedom, it looks like the positioning wasn't quite right, so they are working on repositioning the capsule in the nest now.
Okay, copy that. Thanks.
Crew Kid says that was effing
And with that, the team
Yes,
is
it
just
was.
going to adjust
A great
the
day for
Dragon
America.
spacecraft a bit so that it's in the right position ahead of translating up a little bit closer ahead of the side hatch. So the team is now going to step through the procedures to ensure that that takes place.
While Dragon does fly itself autonomously, it clearly is unable to park itself autonomously. We want to make sure that the Dragon capsule is properly seated there in that nest.
So the reaction right now on social media is fantastic.
Once Dragon is fully seated in the nest,
I'm trying not to talk over them
see
because they clearly know more about what's going on than I do. So why the hell would I? You're here to see me anyway. I'm better seen, not heard. So I'll just shut up and be eye candy for the chat. Okay, that's what I'm good for.
As I mentioned before, one of the recovery team members will begin hosing down the exterior of the spacecraft.
So you are continuing to get some great live views on your screen of Crew 9, which includes NASA astronauts Nick Hague, Sonny Williams, Butch Wilmore, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov, who splashed down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, 2:57 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. Now working to get that spacecraft situated in the nest. Just making some final adjustments and tweaks to ensure that it's nice and secure.
Once the spacecraft is seated and secured and oriented correctly in the nest, Dragon will be moved into the hangar located underneath that helipad that we saw earlier from the aerial views during recovery.
All right, Freedom, looks like you are settled into the nest now. Team is working through hypergol sweeps.
People, so the JFK files just dropped. A lot of people are saying that the people that are actually being able to look at them, they're saying they're old files. So I'm still trying to keep an eye on that as well.
The team is doing the second round of those hypergolic sweeps. This helps ensure that everyone, all the recovery team members that are located basically right where this camera is located on, towards the forward end of the recovery vessel, that they will all be safe once the spacecraft is translated forward. So we're just doing some additional steps to make sure that the hypergolic propellant that is utilized for maneuvering the Dragon capsule while on orbit, making sure that none of those vapors are still present on the exterior of the capsule.
Yeah, it's supposed to be over 80,000
That's right. And there
pages.
are a variety of individuals on board the boat that help with recovery operations. Not only do we have the recovery personnel that you see here, but we also have a doctor that will check out the crew members as standard procedure, as with any space.
I appreciate that, June's Melody. I appreciate it. I greatly appreciate anybody that spends their time watching me and watching any of our channels. Tuesday night's main event is going live right now. I'll be joining them here in a bit, but we want to stay on this for right now. So I'm here committed to this story for right now. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
We'll stand by to see Dragon Freedom translate or scooch up a little bit closer to the camera angle that we're seeing right here. And then teams will step through procedures to get that side hatch opened. You see it right in the dead of center of your screen there. It's kind of that rectangular shape. It has not been opened since the since Crew 9, which include Nick Hague and Alexander Gormanov, launched back in September from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. So that will be the very first time that hatch is opened. Once docked to the International Space Station, crew enter through the top hatch, which was where the nose cone is now closed. That's the hatch that they actually utilize to go ahead and get inside the International Space Station. So as we get a little closer to that hatch opening procedure, you might start to see more individuals come into frame for some of that support. The ship has a maximum capacity of a little over 40 people on board, and it takes a variety of different roles, as we've discussed, to support. Also on board is the chief of the astronaut office for NASA. That's Joe Acaba.
So if you're just tuning in, the astronauts are back. The splashdown happened at the exact time that NASA and SpaceX said it would happen. Now they are in process
are standing by for translation of the Dragon spacecraft to the platform there, the recovery platform that we see in the foreground. It is important to note that Nick, Sonny, Butch, and Alexander will be getting assistance from the recovery teams while exiting the spacecraft. This is the same process for any returning long-duration crew members. As you could imagine, returning to a gravity environment can wreak havoc on our vestibular system, which is responsible for maintaining balance and motion.
I should start covering the launches.
Safety is our number one priority with this operation. So we'll see the crew members helped out of the spacecraft one by one, and they will be assisted the few feet to the medical quarters aboard the boat.
And on board Dragon are three veteran space flyers. That includes Nick Hague, the commander, as well as Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams. Alexander Gorbanov is completing his very first space flight on this mission, and he completed 171 days in space along with Nick Hague.
They've been up there for 9 months. They've been in space for 9 months.
For those of you that have just recently joined us, well, I would encourage you to hit that rewind button and go back a few minutes. It was a beautiful splashdown of Dragon Freedom with the Crew 9 cohort on board. They had an on-time splashdown at 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:57 p.m. Pacific Time. We can see that the spacecraft...
Freedom translation is in progress.
Where's TARS?
Copy, and seal it.
Come on, TARS.
We can see that spacecraft was successfully recovered from the ocean surface and is now being washed with fresh water, as obviously they splash
Come
down
on,
salt water.
cars.
So we're trying to rinse off as much of that salt water as possible. And we can see the spacecraft continuing to move closer and closer to that recovery deck.
Freedom, the crew is working on side hatch opening now. Expect hatch open in about 2 minutes.
Okay, copy that. And Kira, just wanted to say that you guys, you and the team did an awesome job, both uphill and downhill. Just really, really impressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. It's been an honor.
This is a pretty exciting moment coming up. We are working to open the side hatch. One thing that may not be obvious from, just looking at the spacecraft here is that this side hatch that we're about to open, the last time it was open was when this spacecraft was at the launch pad. This side hatch is what is used for initial capsule ingress and final capsule egress, but all comings and goings from the spacecraft while it is on board the space station are from the forward hatch, which is located at the top of the spacecraft under that nose cone. So this is a pretty exciting moment because it will be the crew's first breath of fresh air since boarding their ships at the start of their journeys last year.
And the very first person that will have the opportunity to say hello to the crew once that hatch is open is a SpaceX medical recovery personnel
Where's
representative.
Elon?
Then we'll see procedures take place to remove the footrests of Dragon.
Elon is on
that
Tuesday
will
night's
just
main
help
event.
the recovery personnel get a little bit more room to access the crew and help get them out of the spacecraft.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Safety is, once again, top priority here, and removing those footrests from all four seats will be helpful as a recovery, as a SpaceX recovery team member will actually go into the capsule.
I got to read that.
So
when they went to space, it was the Gulf of Mexico. When they returned, it's the Gulf of America. Let's go.
Stand up, and essentially we'll also see a fun little slide be put in place to help the crew members exit the spacecraft safely. So yeah, we're going to remove all four of those footrests to basically give a little bit more working room inside the spacecraft.
That's right. And we did hear the go for that hatch opening. So we're just a couple minutes away from being able to see that. And then we might be able to get the chance to see a couple of views inside of the Dragon and see the crew following their splashdown.
Now, opening that side hatch isn't quite like opening, the door to your car. We have to depress the seal around the side hatch, as well as, we'll now see them open that side hatch up.
Here we go. Wow. This is
and
crazy.
There you have it. The side hatch is open for the first time since September.
We can see some of the protective equipment there that was brought into frame that will help protect the edge of the side hatch, one from any potential damage. Oh, we can see the recovery crew member there taking photos of the side hatch seal. This is part of the standard operation for recovery. These photos will get saved into our procedure. We'll then install that protective frame around the side hatch. This helps to ensure that the side hatch itself, the edges of it incur no damage, while crew members are coming out from the spacecraft. If you missed it, there was also a recovery team member that went inside. So there are now 5 people on board the Dragon spacecraft.
Hey, thanks, Mac. Yeah, like I said, I find space to be fascinating. Same with the ocean.
And if you are just joining us, it has
and
not yet
Interstellar's
even
my
been an
favorite
hour
movie
since Crew
ever.
9 Splashdown.
More so
on the
about
coast of
the
Tallahassee,
family
Florida, at
dynamic,
2:57
but
p.m.
the space
Pacific
is
time.
fantastic in that movie too.
The crew is now on board the recovery vessel Megan, and the hatch is open. The next major milestone that we'll see is when the crew will actually egress or exit the spacecraft. But before that, they'll continue to the recovery
Somebody said sponsored
personnel.
by Vans. I don't wear Vans, but we are sponsored by MetaPCs.com. And if you want to go over there, in the link in the description or in the pinned post, and if you're interested in a new PC or a laptop or a custom build, you can go over there and use the promo code 199 and let them know that D-Day Cobra and the 199 sent
Near
you.
future, as I mentioned before. Oh, of course, we got to get a well-documented photo of the moment. Although we can't see it from here, I'm pretty sure there are 4 smiles on board right now.
And we did hear that report out from the commander, Nick Hague, following Splashdown, that there were four smiles as far as he could see.
Yeah, capsule full of grins. Now, generally speaking,
Hey!
And
That's
there we do
awesome.
see Crew 9, some happy waves, smiles all around back on Earth.
That is awesome. Trump interview with the Putin call on Fox. Geez, there is so much going on right now, man. There's a lot happening.
generally speaking, we have the individuals in the 2 center seats of the spacecraft exit first. You might hear us refer to this as the exit process as egress. It's just another term for exiting the spacecraft. Generally speaking, we most of the time have the 2 center seats egress first, as it makes moving around inside the capsule a little bit easier. We can see the tablets that were previously located on the upper leg of the crew members. We can see those being handed out to the recovery team. Those were taken off prior to the entry phase to spacecraft reentry. Those had to be stored and secured prior to dynamic operations.
It looks like we are starting to see the footrests also be removed. I just saw one there on the screen. There are 4, of course, 1 for each crew member.
Those footrests are made out of carbon fiber and are actually sized appropriately for each crew member, as everybody has different measurements and different leg lengths. Same goes for the armrests and the bucket length of each seat. We size those appropriately for the crew members and to ensure their comfort and safety. I believe we just saw the little ramp that is used to help slide the crew members out from inside the spacecraft.
And once the crew does exit Dragon Freedom, they will be placed on to a stretcher to go to a medical bay for medical checkouts. This is standard procedure for all Dragon spacecraft flights that Splashdown crewed, as well as for our Soyuz spacecraft that land in Kazakhstan.
Honestly,
You can see the
most shocking
exterior
news of the
of
day
Dragon
is,
Freedom
is Harry
quite
Sisson
clearly, and
being outed as a womanizer. That is not shocking to me at all. That's called a male feminist, okay? You can never trust a male feminist. Male feminists are the worst people on the planet.
entry.
Never
It is
trust a
the
male feminist.
signature sign of a capsule that has returned to Earth.
Any man that goes online and talks about how you should respect women and you should treat them as queens and you should just worship them, they are projecting because they're trying to get laid. Because in reality, men that are trying to get laid will actually in private be mean to women because it's been proven that women will actually talk to you if you don't give them the time of day. But they project on social media to try to put out a fake image, and that's exactly what people like Harry Sisson are.
Amazing. And while on board the International Space Station, Crew 9 contributed to 900 hours of science, over 150 research experiments and investigations, making great use of the microgravity lab of the International Space Station, which celebrates 25 years of continuous human presence this November.
Looks like we're about to get our first crew member here upon egress of the Dragon spacecraft.
This is incredible. This is better than TV. Although I did watch the third or fourth episode of 1923 last night. It was so good.
So we are standing by for that egress. Outside of Dragon, you do see one of those stretchers. This is the expected procedure as the crew will be taken to medical facilities following their exit from Dragon.
Here we go. Look at that. Incredible.
We can see folks on board clapping as our first crew member.
That is
awesome.
NASA astronaut Nick Hague, commander of Crew 9, now out of Crew Dragon Freedom. Some smiles, thumbs up, and a wave. Can't get any better than that.
Yeah, that is one happy camper, that's for sure. As we said before, it is standard procedure for all of our long duration crew members to receive assistance upon egressing from the spacecraft. We basically help them move off of the recovery deck and into the private medical quarters for their initial consultation with the SpaceX flight surgeon. So we'll see that take place for all 4 of our crew members today.
The fact that it's going viral that these dolphins are, all around the pod and people are just going crazy over it. I mean, you couldn't write a better script in a movie for what we're seeing today. Absolutely incredible.
And we are standing by for the next crew member to exit Freedom.
By the way, I don't know if you guys saw, but I made a video earlier about the Daily Wire CEO stepping down. I'm going to talk more about that. Maybe not tonight, obviously, but on another stream. Jeremy Boring.
Next up out of the capsule, we expect Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. His first space flight. Spent 171 days in space alongside
that was his
NASA
first
astronaut Nick
space
Hague.
flight.
Looks like we're getting some cheers and clapping on board as Alexander is slid down the little ramp and placed into the mobility aid. Again, big smile.
Somebody said Jeremy Boring is my review of Cobra Cast. Was that Russ Williams? That was fantastic. Heck yeah.
Now, the two crew members remaining in Dragon are NASA astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore.
So now these are the two astronauts that's been stuck up there for
They
9
completed
months.
286 days in space.
One of the remaining
I agree,
footrests
Troy.
being
I agree.
removed from the Dragon spacecraft.
They have
As I said
mutated into
before,
something
we
else.
generally try to have the crew members that are located in the two center seats.
Here's the moment right here.
aboard Dragon, and we like to have them egress first if possible, as it creates a little bit more movable working room inside the spacecraft. There is a recovery crew member inside that is helping all of our Crew 9 crew egress or exit from the spacecraft.
We are standing by for the next crew member to egress or exit Crew Dragon Freedom following the splashdown not even an hour ago at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time.
Can't even imagine how it feels for them. Stuck in space for
Really
9
have
months.
the
and here
recovery
you are.
operations down pretty quick at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to think that, just 5 years ago when we were doing the initial demonstration missions of the Dragon for Crew Dragon, that now we're under about 30 minutes for, to retrieve the spacecraft from the water, and just several minutes here while it's been on board, and to get everyone really to get that side hatch open. For those of you that have just recently joined, the Dragon had an on-time splashdown.
Here we go.
Looks like we're getting our next crew member here.
Wow.
That is none other than Sonny Williams.
That's amazing.
Big smile, big waves. She, like her other crew members, now will be assisted onto the mobility aid.
Elon on Hannity tonight. Is that true? Is that confirmed?
There we have it. Some waves, some thumbs
Wow.
up, and some smiles.
That is incredible.
Definitely seems to be a theme among all recovery operations.
Absolutely.
Cobra
And of
Cast
course,
all-nighter.
That leaves
like it.
NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore inside Dragon in seat 4. We're getting some views of him now as he egresses
There's
or
man.
exits the spacecraft.
Hell yeah. Look at him. He's going to walk. Absolute Chad. I thought he was going to walk. Do the Vince McMahon walk when he gets off of there.
Once again, some elation and cheers there from Butch Wilmore. As we mentioned before, returning to Earth from coming from a microgravity environment can wreak
Congratulations,
havoc on the
Elon
body.
and
So
SpaceX.
it is
Great job.
customary,
Congratulations,
just standard
President
procedure
Trump.
for all of our
Congratulations,
long-term
America.
space residents to get assistance once they are back on board the recovery vessel.
So I don't know what the process here. I don't know how long the process is going to take now. But I mean,
Well, now
was
that
incredible.
Nick, Butch, Sunny, and Alexander are safely back home on Earth and getting checked out by the NASA medical team, we're going to wrap up our live coverage of
There
their
you go.
return. The Crew 9 mission began a little differently than usual since Butch Wilmore and
So that's the end of that, and looks like there's going to be a lot more coverage of this. It looks like Elon's going to be on Hannity, so I'm probably going to have to cover that a little bit later. I'll probably go live again, maybe, to cover that after Tuesday night's main event. And then we have we're going to eventually hear from these astronauts when they kind of debrief and everything, which I don't know how long that's going to take. But what an amazing moment and a very inspiring moment. And really thankful for Elon Musk and for President Trump and for America, because this was all about America being back, and absolutely fantastic stuff. I know there's a few super chats that I haven't highlighted yet that I need to get to. I got that one. Got that. Let's see. Great if the first thing they say is hail the 199. See the Daily Base intern article, fake news about Trump, Melania, and Luna. The fact that people believe this crap black pills me. The video white pills me more. Yeah, I saw that. Let's see. I got that one. Jessica Lindstrom Racems. Why is your name that, by the way? I'm sure Jessica doesn't like that. Like, I know, like, we meme on all of the people that's on camera, but Jessica's awesome. I don't know why your name is that. That's kind of retarded. But anyway, maybe we'll just ban you. Anyway, America76 says, if you love space, would definitely watch a Mass Effect trilogy. All side missions playthrough on one of the gaming channels. Scotty says, thrilled, excited, moved, and proud to be an American. Absolutely. Luke says, don't worry, Harry. I don't believe the rumors. You'll always be a fig to me. Gearmaster says, breaking news. Federal judge has ordered the astronauts to be sent back to space. Yeah, that was a headline on the Babylon Bee the other day. Let's see. Overmod says, hey, Jeremy, make sure you send Jay to the Snow White show with only one person in the theater. Make him sit right next to him, her. Hail the 199. Mark of Reality says, okay, let's send Sunny Hoskin, is that how you say it, to the space station and leave her there for 8 months. Peace on Earth. Okay, so I'm going to join my peeps over on Tuesday night's main event. This stream will raid that stream if you're interested in joining us. Everybody on Rumble, I think we're live on Rumble over there on Geeks and Gamers. I still don't know how to raid on Rumble, so I have no idea. Eric K, if you're here, I think you can do it. If you have mod privileges, I have no idea. Not sure how that works, but we're going to raid that stream. I'm going to join them. We have a lot to talk about in pop culture, and then I'll see if I can cover the Elon interview later tonight. Thank you guys for all the new subscribers to the channel. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Meta PCs one more time. Go over there, check them out. Use the promo code 199 if you're interested. We appreciate them supporting us, and I appreciate all of you guys for being here during this historic moment for America. And really inspiring to see. So other than that, we're going to leave it there, and I'll see you guys over on Tuesday night's main event. See all of you in just a few minutes. Bye, everyone.